Hello wonderful world, Elayne here, and today I want to talk to you all about the 5 books that I would sell my soul to read again for the first time. So, these books are not necessarily ones that I want to read for the first time at the point that I'm in my life right now, but I'd want to go back in time and relive the experience that I had when I was reading them for the first time at the age and at the point in my life that I was at that time when I read it for the first time. Does that make sense? LMAO. Okay, to kick things off, I have a perfect example of a book that I would want to read back in time, back in middle school, early high school when I first read this book. Because if I read it for the first time now, I probably would not enjoy it as much as I did back then. And that is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. I devoured this book. I read it so many times. Like, this book had so much of my being in it. Like, this book marked my personality for years. I think I have a screenshot still from my friend and I's group chat. Somebody sent blah blah blah, Etienne St. Clair, that's all you talk about, no one cares, Elayne, shut up. Because that's all I would talk about is Etienne St. Clair. On my phone to this day, if I type AATFK, it autocorrects to Anna and the French Kiss. And if I type ESC, it autocorrects to Etienne St. Clair. I was obsessed with this book. For those of you who don't know what Anna and the French Kiss is about, it's about this girl, and for her senior year of high school, her parents decide to send her to... You're gonna have to move, broski. For her senior year of high school, her parents decide to send her to a boarding school in Paris, and Anna cannot imagine a worse thing to do for her senior year. Which is crazy, right? Like, I would have killed somebody to go to Paris for my senior year of high school. Are you joking? But she's like all mad because she has a crush back home and da 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 da. But whatever. When she gets there, she meets this guy, and it is friends to lovers in Paris, and it's amazing. This book is the reason that I took French for 3 years in high school, 2 years in college. I was supposed to study abroad in France, but COVID came, so never got to do that. But I will go back to Paris one day. I have been to Paris, and it was when I was 16, and I carried this book with me everywhere. Not this copy, I have a paperback copy at home that's like completely destroyed. But I carried that copy with me all around Paris. I have pictures of me sitting on point zero holding this book. I have pictures of this book like with the Paris skyline in the background because I climbed the stairs of Notre Dame with this book in my hand. And when I got to the top, I like have pictures of it like with the skyline in the background. Like, this book was my life. And I've reread it multiple times. And I can say that I still love this book, especially because of the significance that it had on my life and personality. And it really set me down like a romance-loving journey. Like, this book made me a hopeless romantic. But when I go back and read it now at an older age, I do realize that there are some problematic things in here. For example, one of the characters, her name is Meredith, is in love with Etienne St. Clair. And he doesn't feel the same way. And Meredith never really goes after anyone else. And she's really sporty, and she's like single and tall, and they call her... I think they use lesbian. I think that they call her a lesbian, and they act like that is the worst possible insult ever. And Anna ends up punching someone for calling her that. And it's like, yes, you should not assume people's sexuality, but the reaction to that is like, Meredith being a lesbian is the worst possible thing that could ever happen. And so like, it is like a little iffy. And some of the comments that Anna makes are like a little bit like pick me girl, like she's kind of like, oh, I'm not like other girls. Like, she's so annoying because she's so girly, and it's like, okay. It's just very 2000s. This did come out in 2010. So if you read this now, like, just be aware of that going into it. Times have changed for the better, and we're growing, and books are growing and becoming more diverse. This was not that. But anyways, Anna and the French Kiss, absolutely love it. Would give anything to go back to 8th grade or 9th grade when I first read it and relive the experience of me devouring this book and making it my entire personality. For this book, I even tried to like paint it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna paint this and like draw the Eiffel Tower on the front. Like, we see how far I got with that one. Yeah. Okay, the next book that I would like to read again for the first time, I think I could read again for the first time at my age that I am now and still thoroughly appreciate and understand and love it, and that is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. So if Anna and the French Kiss set me on a French-loving, romance-loving journey, trajectory, The Hunger Games made me a fangirl nerd. I read The Hunger Games back in 6th grade, I want to say, maybe 5th, but I think it was 6th grade, because I remember having a PETA poster on my locker in middle school. I also wore a Mockingjay pin every day of 6th grade. I was obsessed with The Hunger Games, and I think a lot of us were. I think it was a very pivotal moment for a lot of people. It was like okay to like The Hunger Games, you know? We weren't like, well, I was still kind of weird. I was writing fan fiction in the back of my math class for The Hunger Games when I probably should have been doing like algebra or something. Yeah, I was a little obsessed with The Hunger Games. My friends and I went to the Walmart midnight release party when the movie came out on DVD. We would dress up for movie premieres in like these horrible costumes, and nobody knew what we were dressed up as, but like we did, because our costume didn't look anything like the actual characters, but like that's fine. It made me realize like how fun it is liking something and being engrossed in something like a book and a movie. Like, it's so fun. It's not real, but like it feels so real, and like it's just, I don't know, it's like this whole experience of like, I don't know, like liking The Hunger Games made me become like a fangirl. And you know those memes that were like, they are not only books, like that was me because of The Hunger Games. And it just made me fall in love with the power of a story and how a story can like literally be so addicting and so fun, and it's literally not real. Like, it's words on a piece of paper, and I was dressing up as the characters. Like, that is so cool. I would give anything to go back and relive the first time that I read The Hunger Games and realizing the power of a story and falling in love with a world that is not my own. I would not like to go back and relive middle school, because middle school quite frankly sucked, but I would just like to relive the little Hunger Games part, especially when the movie came out and like the build up to the release and then like going to see it and freaking out. I would love to relive that. Not necessarily middle school, but. And then going off of The Hunger Games, the next book that I want to talk about is Divergent by Veronica Roth. Now, Divergent, I don't think had as big as a significant impact on our society and generation like The Hunger Games did. The Hunger Games, everyone knows what that is. Everybody knows what this means. Like, everybody knows what that is. Like, kids know what The Hunger Games is. And we were playing The Hunger Games, right? Like, my sister and I would run around in the development next to our house, and we would play The Hunger Games. I was always Katniss, of course. She was always Clove, so she would, like, throw knives, and I would, like, you know, just everybody knows what The Hunger Games is. And Divergent, I don't think as many people know what it is, but I still think it was really important within like the book world. The Hunger Games and Divergent and things like, you know, Maze Runner and Matched, there was this whole time of dystopian YA novels where a white female who was usually 16 would wake up one day and decide that she didn't like the way the world was, or she was put into a situation where she was faced with the dark truth of the world and would just like overthrow the entire government. Like, what? Like a 16-year-old. Like, imagine if I rolled up when I was 16 to the president and was like, excuse me, but like, this world is shitty and I'm going to overthrow it and start a revolution. Like, who would listen to me? No one. So the fact that these 16-year-olds and dystopian novels did that, like, they were doing something. And on the one hand, it was really awesome because we as like young girls had like role models to look up to. If you were like a white female though, because that's typically what they were. And then on the other hand, it was like, damn, they be overthrowing the government at 16 and I haven't done anything. I don't even want to get out of bed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was just a very interesting time. Like, all of the books and stories were like dystopian novels about these 16-year-olds. Like, that was like what we had to choose from. But Divergent, I think, is a really good book. I love the first one and I love the first movie, but I don't necessarily like the other two books or the other two movies. I think that Insurgent and the Allegiant movies like completely just derailed from the plot and just are weird. And I think that Insurgent is a good book. Allegiant, I just personally didn't like. I didn't like the way that Veronica Roth wrapped up the story at all. Yeah, I just didn't vibe with it, but I still read them all. But I got Divergent for Christmas one year, the whole box set. And I remember going up to my room on Christmas Day, locking the door, and reading the entire book front to back, cover to cover, in like one sitting. And it was Christmas Day, and I should have been like hanging out with my family and like eating lots of food. And like I did do that, but I had to read this book first. I was obsessed with it. And I literally read it like that. I used to be able to read books so fast, y'all. Did you ever feel like that? Like in middle school, we could read books so quickly, and now it's like, oh my gosh, this book is 100 pages? That's horrible. But it used to be like I could read a 700-page book in like a day. Anyways, Divergent. It was just so fun being that engrossed in a book and being like completely submerged in that world. Like it was Christmas and I didn't care because this world was so much fun to be in, and I would love to go back to that day and just reread Divergent and just feel the way that I felt and feel as obsessed with the book as I did then. Yeah, so the Anne and the French Kiss, The Hunger Games, and Divergent were all read when I was younger, and I just love the feel of like, I just miss the feeling of being a fangirl and like being on Tumblr and writing crappy Wattpad fan fiction and like these weird memes on Instagram. Like I'm pretty sure I had a Hunger Games fan account on Instagram and I would make these crappy memes. Like I don't know, I just miss that whole fangirl world, and it definitely still exists. But like it's just not the same, you know? It's just not the same. So I would love to go back and relive those. But then as for books that I read more recently that I would love to go back and read again for the first time, the first one is technically 3 books. I'm technically kind of cheating, but it's all by the same author. And that is Daisy Jones and the Six, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and Malibu Rising, all by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid is an amazing writer. If you've watched any of my videos where I talk about her, you know that I'm obsessed with her. She's amazing. She is so talented. Her writing style is, I just absolutely love her books. And the one that I read first was Daisy Jones and the Six, and when I read it, I was like, holy shit. This is life-changing. I made everybody I know read it. My copy is gone because I let somebody borrow it, and then they let somebody borrow it, and I have no idea where it is now. But like, that's okay. It's out there. And it's changing lives, and people are getting to read the story. So you know what, wherever my book is, I hope she's doing well. But I do miss her, but hopefully she's making people happy, you know? Actually, she's probably not making people happy because Taylor Jenkins Reid books have a way of ripping your heart out, ripping them into a million pieces, and then like throwing your heart against the wall. That's how I would describe a Taylor Jenkins Reid novel. It's like, it's heartbreak and it's sadness and it's wrapped in this beautiful lyrical writing. And although it's heartbreak, it's like the funnest experience ever. The 3 books that I mentioned by Taylor Jenkins Reid are all historical fiction novels. So Daisy Jones and the Six is about a 70s rock band, and they're reflecting on, you know, their life and their loves and their relationships and their struggles with addiction and that kind of stuff. And then Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is about a golden era Hollywood movie star who was like really beautiful and really famous, and she is now old and reflecting on her life and like telling the story of her life and how she had 7 different husbands. And then Malibu Rising is about the 4 kids of a rock star, and it takes place in the 80s. They each are like about these fictional famous people, and you feel like they're real. Like the stories that she creates are so believable, and like I don't even know how to put it into words like how amazing they are. She has created these celebrities. You know that sound on TikTok, but it's also from Marvel where Yelena's like, don't say that. It was real. It was real to me. You know what I'm talking about from Black Widow? Because Black Widow's like, it wasn't real. Our whole childhood is fake. And she's like, don't say that. That's like how I feel about these books. Like they're not real, but like to me they were. To me, Daisy Jones and Evelyn Hugo are real people that deserve the world. I would just love to reread these and experience like the writing and just the emotional trauma that I was put through from these novels. They made me cry, bro. But it was so fun, and I want to do it again. And I can't wait for more books by her. I have been reading her older novels because she has some that aren't about fake famous people. I've been reading those and I really like them and they're still written beautifully, but I do love the ones about like fake celebrities. Those are so fun. They're my cup of tea. I am a pop culture celebrity drama loving gal. And so Taylor Jenkins Reid books are just like perfect for me. Okay, the last book I want to talk about is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. So the second one actually comes out February 15th. So that's like Tuesday for me. That's exciting because that means I'm basically gonna get to read this book for the first time. I mean, not really because it's a sequel, but it's close. It's basically like I'm reading it again. Crescent City is so much fun. I had physical reactions while I was reading this book. Like I was screaming, punching the wall, screaming into my pillow, crying, puking, throwing up, sliding down a wall. Like that was me while I was reading these. I would be like, what the heck? This book is just like, Crescent City is crazy because just when you think you have everything figured out and you think you understand all the characters and the world, Sarah J. Maas like throws a twist at you. And then everything's like all topsy-turvy and you're like, what is happening? I want to know more. Like, what are you doing to me, Sarah J. Maas? And I don't know. It's so much fun. The world is so fun. It's basically like our world. Kind of reminds me of like London or New York, but like with werewolves and elves and angels and vampires and stuff. So it's like our world, but all that stuff exists. Because they have cell phones and stuff, and like they go clubbing and they all have jobs. But the main character just happens to be half elf, half human. And when something happens in her life, which I'm not going to say, and do not read the description of this book, do not read the blurb, it spoils you. So just listen to what I have to say, and if it sounds good, read the book. But Bryce is the main character. She's half elf, half human, and something happens, and basically she is forced to work with this sexy, brooding, meanie head, really sexy angel named Hunt. And so Bryce and Hunt have to work together to basically solve a murder, and they have to figure out like who did the murder and like what the larger plot is of this murder. And it's really good. So these two are forced to work together. We got the forced proximity trope. There's a little bit of tension of the sexual variety, if you know what I mean. And yes, this book is definitely rated RRRRRXXX. Like, do not read it unless you are comfortable with that because it is very, very smutty. But it is so much fun. It's so much fun. Like, it's so fun. Just like thinking about it right now makes me want to throw up, cry, slide down a wall, scream, throw up, puke everywhere. I'm so excited for the next one. It's coming out so soon. And I'm gonna read it. Yeah, I would give anything to go back and read the first one again. Anything. I'll commit any crime as long as it's only hurting myself and not hurting others. But yes, those are the 5 books that I would sell my soul to read again for the first time. Wipe my memory, send me back in time, and let me do it again. And that is Anne and the French Kiss, The Hunger Games, Divergent, Taylor Jenkins Reid's 3 novels that I mentioned, and Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what book you would love to go back in time and read for the first time again. Maybe you agree with me. Maybe you'd want to reread The Hunger Games. And wherever you are, I hope you are doing oh so well, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye!